Getting started a little bit early today. I see a lot of newcomers coming in here at the moment with the participants. So we're just waiting for the time to tick over to 10 o'clock before we get started and give people a chance to jump on in. While we're waiting, just at the bottom there, you'll see that there is a chat and a Q&A. If you want to just put into the chat where you're tuning in from today from around the world, just so we get an idea of where our audience is situated. Throw it in there and we'll be able to kind of see that and see the people that we're kind of talking to here today as well, which is great. Seeing a lot of people coming in from the US. So good evening, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I should have started with that. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon from wherever you are tuning in today. We're really excited to have you all here and seeing all these people flood on in. It's super exciting for us. Both Anton and I are wearing shirts, which means it's a formal occasion, and we are very excited to be presenting our new virtual staging engine, which we'll jump into in a moment. We're just going to give it another minute to let the participants jump on in here because there are a few people and it takes a while for it to load up. But I'm going to go through a little bit of the housekeeping to begin with. I probably don't need to go too much through Zoom. Everyone's probably very familiar, most likely sick of Zoom at this point with everything that's been going on. But for those of you who may be new, at the bottom of your screen or potentially the top, depending if you're using the web or the desktop version, you'll see that there are chat icons and Q&A icons. If you would like to mention anything into the chat, please feel free to do so. At the moment, we're just seeing where everyone's tuning in from. Throughout the conversation, please feel free to put any questions you'd like into that chat. At the end of the presentation, both myself and Anton will be answering any of your questions, no matter how big, how small, how difficult. The difficult ones will be handled by Anton. I'll be taking the easy questions. We flipped a coin beforehand for that one. So feel free to use those pieces there. Our team behind the scenes are curating all of that, and they'll pick it up and let us know as well. So please feel free to put all that information into that spot there. Additionally, we've got live transcripts, so closed captions for this webinar as well for accessibility purposes. If you'd like to make use out of that, please click on that. That's in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen there for closed captions for any accessibility purposes. I will attempt to talk slowly to help that process, but I've been told that it's hard to understand me at the best of times, but we're going to give it a good red hot crack. I can see a lot more people jumping in now, so we should get it underway. I really appreciate all of you joining us. For all those newcomers at the moment, please throw in where you're joining us from today so we get a good idea of what and where we're talking to. If you are waiting and you're looking at your Facebook right now while you're waiting for me to get started, go to the Captured Community Group, CCG, and add yourself or join that group. That's where we provide all of our first updates. That's where all of our beta testers get their information. If you want to become a beta tester, that's where you do it. All of our sneak peeks and updates, that's the first place to get all the news you need for Captured. So if you're on Facebook right now while waiting, just jump on Captured Community Group. That's Captured Community Group, CCG, and join that group. And you'll get to hear more from us and the team as well. Good to see a lot of people joining in. I can see a lot of people from the US. Welcome, good evening. Appreciate you staying up. I think it's probably around, it's going to be a guess here, but 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, West Coast. So I appreciate you tuning in and taking the time today, especially everyone else, whether it's European or Australian. Good morning, good evening, 3 p.m. Thank you, David. It's early in the afternoon then. Appreciate it. Let's get started. Let's get underway. We've got all the participants coming in at the moment. As we're going through this presentation, as I mentioned, feel free to ask any questions. We are going to answer them at the end. So let's kick this off. I've been talking a lot, but I should probably introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Stephen. I'm one of the co-founders here at Foria. It's the parent company of Captured, the platform that has been developed and been running for the last 6 years. I'll give a bit of background on that in a moment, but the gentleman that you shall see here with me as well is our technical director, Anton. I'll let him do a quick introduction for himself. Anton.
Hey everybody, so yeah, I'm Antoine. I'm a technical director at Foria, and I've been the lead developer on the virtual staging and otherwise a developer on Captured. And so yeah, I'll be excited to answer all the questions you guys have about virtual staging.
Awesome. Thank you, Anton. A lot of the credit, well, all of the credit goes to himself and his team for developing out this amazing tool set and continue to build upon it. There's actually a fantastic accolade overnight. Our studios team, part of our business, won the Australian International Documentary Award for Best Immersive Experience for a web AR experience that we developed with ABC and CSIRO, which are a science institution here in Australia. And Anton was a critical part for helping with the website with compression of assets, which has transferred into virtual staging and a bunch of other things. So thank you, Anton. Anton's going to be with us throughout this program. The harder the questions, the better. I'm hoping we can stump him, but he's pretty hard to stump. So we'll see how we go through the question and answer period at the end. Let's dive into the webinar. Let's get this started. I'm going to run through a few things today, launching what it is that we're providing, where we're going with this technology, but also wanting to hear a lot of your feedback throughout this process as well. We're going to talk about a little bit of industries. So obviously real estate's the primary one that we're going to be looking at, but also a few other areas that we've seen a lot of interest, going through a few how-tos throughout the space as well. And at the end, we're going to go through a live demo. I've been told don't work with children, animals, or do live demonstrations of beta technology to hundreds of people, but we're going to give it a good crack and go through a number of different things throughout this process today. So really looking forward to it. I'm going to share my screen and jump into it. Again, if you have any questions as I'm going, please put it into the Q&A. We're going to get to them at the end. Last piece of housekeeping, if you do need transcripts or closed captions for accessibility purposes, it is available down the bottom in the right-hand corner. So let's get started and jump on in. I'm just going to quickly share my screen and we can get going. Awesome. No news is good news. So captured virtual staging. This is why we're all here today, and we've been really excited to launch this. We've been working on the engine now, technically for multiple years, but primarily for this part for the last 8 months. A lot of hard work, late nights, sweat, blood and tears has gone into this, but we're really excited to be able to launch this to the community today and in the coming weeks. A little bit of background for any of the newcomers that may not know who we are. We were established back in 2014. We started a scanning business here in Australia that quickly grew to about 15 technicians across the country back in 2014. At that point in time, we actually built what was the first instance of Captured to help us manage our technicians and provide additional services to our customers. We then became the distributor for Matterport here in Australia and New Zealand. So we are the official reseller for Matterport in this part of the world. And we stopped providing scanning services and focused on our software to assist the customers that we're providing the hardware to as well. We've been continually building upon that over the last 4 to 5 years as well, building out a very comprehensive platform. On the other side of our business, we also have an immersive media or immersive technology studio that produces augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality experiences. As I mentioned, we were fortunate enough to win one of the best web AR or best immersive documentary series last night. And we've also last year won the Webby for best augmented reality experience for our work with David Attenborough and his TV show, Our Planet for Rewild, which is available on the app stores in the coming weeks, if not already. And then lastly, we do have a number of patents. If you joined us in our last webinar around AR Connect, that was one of our key ones that we've got, being able to align any digital device into the physical world. We've got some amazing engineers, developers, designers behind us that are making some incredible technology pieces that we're providing to our community at the moment. We'll be going through a few surprises with AR Connect as well. Probably no surprise that we're talking about virtual staging and AR Connect together, but I've got some really good sneak peeks of what's to come in the very near future. Again, anyone that's new to Captured, we do provide a full suite of services and continually building upon it. Whilst virtual staging is our newest feature, we do provide the full suite of everything that you need to be able to provide a complete package to your customers, no matter what industry that you're working in. Virtual tour overlays, providing your branding, your contact information, all through the analytics as well. Single page property websites and templates. You can now design your own templates just like you would in HubSpot or Squarespace to design websites and emails, to design what works for you and for your customers, putting your photos, your floor plans and everything else in place to deliver through. Our custom floor plans and site plans, probably something that we're most known for at the moment, providing high quality 3D, 2D floor and site plans, all for our customers within 12 to 24 hours. Photo retouching services, not too much needs to be said there, just providing the service that's needed for all of you. Post-production services, helping with taking all that load for anyone that's doing a lot of work out there. You know, the tediousness of having to go through set start locations, move everything around, do your highlight reel, track your photos. We can take care of that for you. pretty much where where Captured started, the automated scheduling and booking system. For anyone that has more than one technician and you're trying to manage it, you know how difficult it can be. We've also got payments included in this. So we collect payment on booking and then provide it to you once it's been delivered, providing security to you and your clients. The branded client portal, this is just a nice way to provide all of your content that we've been developing for you, meaning you don't really need to use your collaborator access if they don't need to edit anything, and they can just have a branded version of Captured with your logos, your colors for your customers for those particular assets that you've created for them. Analytic reports, this is one of the unsung heroes in my opinion, scheduling reports that can get sent out however you see fit, daily, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, whatever you need. And that also includes heat maps, so where people are positioned within that space as well. And lastly, there's a lot of content there that was created. We provide a one-button press delivery email service. So click a button, branded email, all your content gets sent directly to your clients. And of course, our newest or previous newest feature, AR Connect toolset, which is an amazing tool, which I'll be going through a little bit later on, but aligning your digital virtual tour, your digital twin, into any physical space. At the moment, you'll be able to see any meta tag that you've placed in your tour in the exact location within the real environment that you're in. The doorbell, Anton, 1 second. The joys of working or doing a live presentation. That is AR Connect and that is Captured. Jumping into virtual staging and why we're all here today. So we've been building this out for a number of years. 1 second, I'm just going to turn that off. Apologies. The joys of live streaming and not being able to control your doorbell. So virtual staging, while we're all here today, and I probably left like on a cliffhanger as I left the screen as we started talking about it. We've been developing this out for the past 8 months, developing a high quality range of assets. And you'll see it on launch. Anyone that's been in our beta program, you've seen a limited pool of those assets as we've been releasing them over the coming days and weeks. But we're going to have hundreds of optimized assets on launch. The key part here is optimized. I've seen in a lot of the community groups and forums the discussions around the quality of assets within these virtual staging engines. The one thing to be mindful of is the difference between a photo that's being staged and a virtual tour that has been staged. In a photo, the assets that they're using are usually gigs, so quite a heavy file, and that's why the quality is there. When you're putting it into a virtual tour, you need to be able to compress that asset, because if you had multiple gigs of data being streamed into a mobile or web device, your user experience is going to be lacking. They're not going to be able to load the tour. It's not going to work well. And it goes back to our fundamentals. Anyone that's joined us on any of our webinars before knows that the fundamentals for Captured is creating a delightful experience that works simply and works every time, making people want to come back and try it again. In saying that though, it's not the end of where we're finishing this optimization side of things. We've got some really exciting opportunities coming up, and something that Anton and his team have been working on quite a lot in the past few days, but lossless compression. So how can you compress an asset down from a fraction of the size, but without losing any of the quality? And we've got some really fantastic updates to provide towards the end of this webinar as well. So the ability to upload your own assets as well. We're obviously providing you a nice catalog, and we'll continue to add to that catalog, but I'm sure all of you may have some ideas, some concepts, some assets, some clients that have assets that they want to be able to see or placed into their virtual tour. So being able to easily upload an asset, categorize it, label it, and put it into the system. And then obviously the easy to navigate interface there as well. So let's start from the end. What does the end user see? Building in from our overlays tour and also the virtual tour from the Matterport side of things, it's a seamless integration and the ability to turn the assets on and off. And you can also control that. So you can also make sure that it's always on, so they can't turn it off, or provide the end user the ability to turn it on and off. And obviously the optimized assets with lighting, shadows, and everything else, with able to see it within the 3D model as well. I'm going to quickly play this video and talk through it as we go through. So this is the end user point of view, not the engine to create it. So if you were to put this up on a real estate portal, you'd be able to load in, you'd see the assets within the scene itself as you can move around. As you click, you can turn them on and off. That is an option within the settings. You can turn that off completely so they're always on. and obviously coming out into the dollhouse view, being able to view them in situ, and obviously within the floor plan side of things as well. So the first person view for them is no different to any normal Matterport tour with the ability to turn on and off these assets. And so it's keeping consistency with what our customers would already know, but providing more value into that tour that they may not already expect. So how does this all happen? Magic is the best way of considering it, but you're placing these assets from a curated list. So what I'm going to do is play this video and talk through it really simply. We've made this as simple as possible, working with a number of different asset libraries and user interfaces. We've been able to develop our own unique tool set. So you can see here on the left-hand side, all of the assets that we have available. You can also search for those assets. I'll quickly drop this back for a second. The green box that you see here, apologies, is a lightweight marker that allows you to identify where you're going to be placing this asset before it gets put down. The reason why we've placed it like this is for easeability and also efficiency. You can see that it's snapping to the ground in this instance as well as default to assist in making sure that everything is level. Once it is place, you can also move it up and down on the different axes, but this is the way, the easiest way for us to put assets within the space in itself. So once that's placed, you'll see that it's still an optimized asset without the textures on it to allow you to move it easily. You'll see in that image there that you can easily move the asset up and down by using the arrows that are coming out on the side, but we've also got a full tool set on the right-hand side for your position, your rotation, and your scale. We'll go through these individually a little bit later, but we automatically default the y-axis, which means it's sticking to the ground, but you can move it left and right. Similarly with the rotation and scale, making sure that at default, we're providing you the simplest way to utilize that asset, but they're all unlockable and all malleable depending on what you want to provide. So once you've placed that asset, you click off and you can see the colors and textures coming in. Quite simply, you can do this repeatedly. The goal here is to do it quickly as well. If it was going to take you 4 days to stage a house, it's not going to be worth your time. So we've made a system that is easily just click, drop, place, move. And you can place assets on top of other assets. You'll see it as we drop a coffee table on top of the rug as that loads into scene there. The key part here to point out, you can see that the y-axis is just above 0. So 0 is the ground. This is at 1.3. Which means it's just above the rug, which means it's locking into the information above the area that it's on. As we continue here, you can select different assets at different times to move them as well. Once it's placed, it's never fixed. While we're searching for the couch, it's worth pointing out on the right-hand side, you can see all the assets that you've placed within your scene here as well. So you can click on any of these at any time and it will show you that asset. You can delete it individually or delete it all. So just placing that final asset in this scene, you can see that now we have a couch, table, and a rug all put together, and the lighting option here, quickly pausing on this. So the lighting at the moment is a fixed light, individual scene light for the entire property, and you can manage that going up and down. We've already got a lot of feedback. It's something that was already in our pipeline and we're developing out on this to have individual asset lighting, or more accurately, individual room lighting. We've been working on a pretty interesting update what I can share a little bit on, but by using real lighting. So understanding where the light's actually coming through from windows and textures and actually using that information. And so there's a lot to come in this lighting area, which we're really excited to share about because it does affect the shadows as well. You can see here that the shadows are brightened or softened depending on the light textures that you've got in that space. And by using the real lighting in the near future, automatically, you won't even have to do this because we'll be able to do it automatically for you within that scene. And so that's how easy it is to drop some assets into a scene and now viewing it. Also, you could place assets in your dollhouse view as well there, making sure that it's all placed exactly where you want. So once you've placed all these assets, and just quickly before we move on, one thing to point out, we do have an undo and redo button as well. So it is incrementally identifying, I wouldn't say saving, because if you were just to exit this, it wouldn't save, but we can undo something or redo something. So you might be playing with an asset and just trying to get it right, but it doesn't quite get there. By clicking undo, you can easily just go back to where you were before. But the final part obviously is saving and publishing this. So clicking that button in the top right-hand corner, making sure that it's saved and published. And now this is live for you, for your customers, and for anyone else that would like to make use out of it. So it's that simple to place an asset within a scene, light it, and then save the process. The next one here is adding your own assets. So I'm sure a lot of you have a number of asset libraries, or your customers may have asset libraries that they would like to utilize in this space. And so this is something that's going to be available on launch and is available right now. We are currently accepting GLB files. For those of you who know or don't know too much about 3D formats, GLB files are the lightest weight format that you can use. It's a binary format for 3D assets. And the reason why we're choosing this is for optimization purposes. We will be opening this up to different file types in the future, but for now we're focusing on GLBs. In our support articles, we'll have different conversion websites that we'll link you to, so you can convert your OBJs or your FBXs to a GLB that you can place into our file system and upload quite easily. From there, once you upload that asset, we will allow you to name it, put it in a category and add a thumbnail so it's easily findable. And then from there on, that's saved in your library. You don't have to do that ever again. For all of your other properties that you go to, you'll have these files available to you. And you can see here in the very near future, we're doing batch uploads. I'm sure some of you might have hundreds, if not thousands of assets that you would like to upload. It's going to be pretty tedious to do that one by one. So we're working on a system to allow complete batch uploads, which is coming in the very near future. So how does this work? Before we jump into the upload part, I'll just go back to the start here. This is the exact same engine as the one we're looking at before. The difference here is you see at the top, there's a drop down here that says custom. So previously we're in the standard assets, now we're in the custom assets. Once you click upload, you find the file on your computer, making sure that it is a GLB. It's giving it away from the name what we're uploading here, but our production team decided to put in their dream car just to be a little bit different and just show the accessibility of the piece itself. So now we're uploading a thumbnail for that. You don't need to upload a thumbnail. You'll see on the left-hand side after this is being loaded. If you don't upload a thumbnail, we just provide a nice little icon. It would probably be difficult to identify if there was multiple of the same asset. So this is where the thumbnail becomes useful. Once it's loaded, you click on the asset just like you would any of the assets that we would provide. It locks to surfaces as before, and you can click in place and move it just like any asset from our standard piece. And so it's treated the exact same way. The lighting works the exact same way as you can see here. It moves it up and down, and you can also scale, size, or manipulate it however you would with a normal asset. And another big reason why we're using GLBs is so there is consistency through our asset pool and when you're creating at the moment. But as I mentioned, we will be opening this up in the very near future. So we've gone through a fair bit there. I just wanted to recap before we start looking into the future and what we're going to be going on to. So at the moment, for anyone that's been in the private beta, this is what they've had access to. And if you're joining the public beta, which is open to all Captured customers from the 9th of March, Australian Eastern Standard Time, you will be able to select or upload any asset within any Matterport tour that you upload into Captured. There are available 3D asset animations to upload. We'll go through a bit of a example of this in a bit. The lighting and shadow support, so the engine to allow you to change the lighting across the entire property will be available, and obviously save, publish and share. The most important part is being able to have this publicly available so you can provide to your customers. It is going to be in our public beta. We're not going to be charging for it for this period of time, but that doesn't mean that you can't. It doesn't mean that you can't get your customers excited about this opportunity. And so it is going to be fundamentally available for you to use as you see fit. Because it is in beta, just in that final parts of it, while we're getting more feedback and building upon it and creating more amazing features that have been requested throughout the last few weeks and will come into the near future as well. So what's coming next? We've been working pretty hard in the background on a number of additional features that are going to be rolled out fairly shortly. For anyone that's been a part of our beta program, I appreciate all the feedback that you've been provided, and soon to come more as well. And this is going to continue through public beta, and even when the feature is live, we're going to continue to receive feedback and build upon what information or what features that you need. I believe some of you will hopefully be able to test it. We'll be able to confirm that there was a couple changes that requested, and we'll be able to fix that within a number of hours in terms of decimal places and things within the tour itself. So we are actively reviewing all of those feedback forms and making the system better every single day. But what's coming next and what's on our priority list. You can see a bunch of these things here. So high resolution asset support. So we touched on this really briefly at the top, but Anton and the team have created a fantastic compression algorithm that allows us to place higher res assets within the scene without creating more of a delay in load times or user experience. This means we're going to have more assets and higher quality assets in the very near future within our library. It also means for any large assets that you upload, we can use that same compression algorithm to make sure that it's optimized for the virtual tour without losing any of the textures or look and feel from that asset in itself. The next one there is a 3D asset animation library. And so there are a number of different things that you could do with this, and we'll be providing, and there's an example here that I'll show you in a second, but for real estate, the easiest example to provide is a animated fire within a fireplace. Or you could go all the way through to creative artistic pieces, which I'll show you in a second, using things like fog or complete animations of animals and things, which again, I'll show you in a moment. The next one here is 2D video integration. There's been a lot of demand for this, and I think it's got a lot of value to it as well. So being able to embed a video potentially on top of a TV screen or on a billboard and have that video play. It could be through YouTube or whatever it may be. It provides that lifelike feel within the property, or potentially if you're in a retail space having marketing content playing as you would walking through a supermarket. Batch uploads, we discussed this before, being able to upload multiple items at the same time. Stage multiple environments per virtual tour. Technically speaking, this is currently available. So you could upload the same tour multiple times into Captured, stage it differently, and then put it all into a multi-tour. In the navigation menu to take a multi-tour within Captured, and then you would have the same tour staged differently. You might ask why or where would this be useful? So you could have different styles for your property. You could have the country style, the modern style, the chic style, and allow your customers easily to kind of go through those pieces. Or alternatively, where this is probably going to be very useful is in the event spaces. So a wedding function area, being able to see what the table setting looks like compared to this, to the auditorium seating compared to the cocktail seating, and having that all within the same tour, just being able to flick them on and off is going to be quite useful. It is available to a certain extent now if you were to do a number of different things, but we're going to just make this a lot easier as well in the near future. The next one is the painting tool set. For any of you that are familiar with Matterport Labs, you would have seen this released into their beta quite a while ago, being able to change the colors and textures of the floors and walls. So floorboards to tiles and change the colors of your walls. There's going to be a complete tool set similarly to what we've developed already. We'll have a baseline of assets, but then also allow you to upload your own as well to make the most out of these engines. The next one, it's not so much a virtual staging feature. It's probably going to be its own tool in itself, but custom BIM integrations with metadata support. So for those of you who may not be too aware of BIM, building information models, it's the designed for the piping and for the electricals within a building or structure. And so the difference between this as a 3D object and a normal 3D object is that there's a lot of metadata in it. So being able to click on an asset and understand the warranty, the manufacturer, when it was placed there, and all that additional information is necessary. And so we're going to build out a full system to accommodate BIM integrations in the very near future as well. And lastly, and if we get some time, we've got some demonstrations of a couple of these things, but mixed reality integration. So Magic Leap and HoloLens are going to be two of the primary ones that we're going to be looking at. It currently does work in VR at the moment within the Matterport player. I've got a couple of videos that I can share later as well. And there's a more optimization that can definitely be done there. And the last part here is just we're going to be continuing to improve the load times and the UX are the two most important things, both for our customers to stage the property, but for your end users to view the experience, making sure that it is an amazing and delightful experience for them. The one part here as well that isn't mentioned, but continuing to build upon the asset library that we've already got. This is going to be continuous. And so you're going to see consistent uploads of assets into the engine itself. And eventually we want to have catalogs. So you could see what the country catalog looks versus a contemporary or the office catalog and the like. We appreciate and understand that a house interior is different from Texas to inner city London, and we need to be able to provide the baseline assets to accommodate all of this. And so we will continue to provide these as we move forward. And it's not just real estate as well. We have started with a good baseline of real estate furniture, but obviously commercial fit outs for offices, for manufacturing plants, and then looking differently into a number of different areas as well, like retail and museums, and what's necessary to assist in those spaces as well. And so this is just a really high level top line of the number of features that we're going to be tackling within the coming months, but also giving enough space for any ideas or concepts that have been provided to us from all of you as well. So as you're playing with this and you may see something that you require to assist you close a client or provide a better service, please let us know, because we've left room within our development pipelines to make sure that we can provide you with the services that you're after. At the end of the day, we're building this so all of you can create value for your customers. And so we want to hear what it is that we can provide and assist you with as well. So I'll be talking a lot about these features, and you might be asking what a lot of these are. So we've put together a bit of a demo video. This is very much our playground and something that we've been working on. But you can see here, we've got animated fog within the scene. It's just something that we've put together quite quickly. You'll see in the corner there, we've got a 2D video screen. It's playing an Instagram feed in this instance, just pegged up against the wall there, being able to show the actual scene that we're in on Instagram stories. And we've also got 3D animated text, and you can see the glimmer of light shining off that in that right corner where it says Rowan Empire as you click on it. As we move through this space as well, this is just us testing with different ideas and concepts. You'll see around the corner, there's a little bit of a surprise in this room. One of our fantastic animated assets from one of our other experiences that we developed. So now being able to place animated experiences within a tour opens up a whole avenue for storytelling within Matterport Tours, be it in virtually on desktop or mobile, in augmented reality or in VR. Obviously, all of this works in the dollhouse and floor plan view as well. You can see the animated assets moving around in situ where you've placed them. There's a number of concepts and ideas that can be developed out. The fog obviously is going to help with any Halloween specials out there or anything like that, but it's just a baseline and us testing there and showing what's capable currently in itself. This is going to be built out a lot more in the coming months, especially with the assistance from your feedback as well moving forward. So again, anyone that joined us for our last webinar around AR Connect, we are nearing its official public launch, where it will be in the app stores available. At the moment, you're still going through test flight and a few other things. But up until recently, the ability to see tags from your Matterport tour has been available. That includes websites and also the measurements as well. This is a very early test that we're showing here, but the idea is to be able to link or complete the whole supply line. So you've scanned the tour, you've now staged the tour virtually, and your customers are seeing this online, but they go to that property and they're going to see an empty house. And so how can you then use one of the other tools within our tool set to assist you in situ? And so being able to view the assets exactly positioned where you've placed them in the virtual tour in the real world through AR Connect is only weeks, if not a month away. So this video, and I'll quickly play it here, it's one of our developers or engineers, apologies, playing with the concept outside on his driveway. So he's placed these assets in the virtual tour, the Matterport Virtual Tour, on his driveway. And now he's able to go out there, turn on AR Connect and view it in situ exactly where it was placed. This goes beyond real estate and has a lot more usability within different industries as well, but it's helping closing that loop. And so what we're wanting to do is create as much value as possible from a single Matterport tour. So you've gone out there, you've scanned your tour. You may have created floor plans, you may have photo retouched, you may have created a one-page website. Now you can stage that property, another potential revenue stream, and now you can provide a custom augmented reality experience for that client as well. And so it's all these pieces to the pie that's allowing you to extend the value from that initial creation of the tour without doing much in the background, and allowing our tool set to do a lot of the heavy lifting in itself. So really excited to see that come into fray. Again, if you not already, join the Captured community group on Facebook. That's where we place a lot of these examples and what we're working on, and to get feedback to see where things are going as well. So we'll be providing a lot more updates on AR Connect in the coming weeks as well. I wanted to touch on this super quickly. I'm sure all of you already have a mountain of clients that you want to be able to provide virtual staging to, and different industries within that as well. But I just wanted to quickly touch on the areas where I've been seeing a lot of conversations happen from our point of view with our customers. Firstly and foremost, obviously real estate. There's a big need within this area. At the moment, the substitutes are very expensive and take a very long time, whether that's actually physically staging a real estate property, renting that furniture for the time that the property is on market. There is a large expense involved in that, or alternatively, the virtually staging of images, even if it were to be through Matterport, is a timely exercise. It takes days, if not weeks, and costs hundreds, if not thousands of dollars still to do that. And so there is a fantastic opportunity here to provide virtually staging within real estate to potential customers that may not have been able to afford it previously, and opening up a whole sector of the market, even potentially within property management or leasing or rentals. The next one here is museums and galleries. We've been having a number of conversations with museums down here in Australia, being able to scan an empty gallery, for instance, and assisting them in setting up where they're going to be placing paintings in the future, or how they could formulate a different design within the space that they're in to help with their planning and adjusting of new exhibitions. The next one is retail stores. This one was a bit of a surprise to me, but it does make a lot of sense, especially within supermarkets as well. These industries spend a lot of money and time in research for product placements on shelves and different things like that. And so being able to quickly spin up a virtually staged engine of an aisle, and then changing the Smith chips with the kettles and seeing if it has any more interactions, and then putting that in augmented reality or virtual reality or even mixed reality to see what people are looking at. There is a lot of money going to this space at the moment, and there is a nice little add-on here that we can provide this industry to help them kind of get to that final part rather than going to the full piece straight away. Events planning, we touched on this before, the wedding example. Seeing different designs within empty spaces is going to be really important. How many seats you can fit within certain spaces, or maybe if the stage was to be moved, where it would look and where the people would sit. Engineering and construction, this will come into a lot more play with the BIM updates that we'll be providing fairly shortly, but right now, more so within the manufacturing industry. Can my manufacturing plant fit within this space? And if you had a BIM model, or in fact a GLB that you could convert and place it in the engine, you could do that right now to see if it would fit and work within that space in itself, helping a lot for clash detection and a few other things as well. And last one's renovation and planning design. So if you're planning a renovation within a house, being able to use this engine, having thought about this a little bit, the product cycle or the business roadmap for this, for any individuals that are scanning houses, would be, okay, the house has been scanned for sale, the property has been sold. Can I now resell that same virtual tour to the new property owner because we know that they're going to be doing a renovation, and provide them with access to the virtual staging engine? And so again, giving second life to a piece of creation that you've developed. So not just selling it once, but selling it multiple times throughout the lifetime of that property in itself, is just a concept or idea that we've been toying with here as well. So how do you get involved? I've mentioned it a few times, but please, if you haven't already, the Capture community group on Facebook, where all of this information is provided for our current beta features and all of our new and upcoming features. We give access to our beta users within that group. And if you want to become a beta user, that's where you do it. We appreciate all of the feedback and all of the hard work that all of our beta users have been going through, and hopefully you're seeing some of that come to light as the changes that you've requested are already being made. And so that's going to continue moving forward. But please feel free to join this group and get involved. The next one is slightly out of date. So the private beta is now finished and closed, but that doesn't mean you won't have access. Public beta, so for any of you who don't know, private beta is to a select group of people that have early access to the feature. Public beta means that everyone on Captured, once you've logged in and have your account set up, will have access to the feature, but it's still in beta, meaning we're still improving it, we're still updating it. It means we're not charging for it to get access. And so that public beta is going live, as you can see there, on the 9th of March, 2021, Australian Eastern Standard Time. So I believe the 8th in the US and in Europe, in parts of Europe as well. And there will be feedback forms. Provide as little as much information as you would like here, but any thoughts that you have, please fill out one of these forms and send it through to us. Our product management team, our design team, our development team are reviewing this daily to make sure that we're working on the exact areas that we need to make sure we're providing the perfect features for all of you. So again, the Capture community group is where we'd like to see you all. That concludes the presentation. I appreciate you all sitting through that. I hope it was enjoyable and that you were able to provide, or I was able to provide, a bit of an overview on the virtual staging engine, where it is right now and where it is going. But our enjoyable part is opening up to some of these Q&As. So I'm going to bring Anton back, stop sharing my screen for now, but we might jump into some live demos in a second.
That was great. I enjoyed it.
Thanks, So we've got a few questions coming through already. If you haven't already and you've got something on your mind, the chat button or the Q&A button in the bottom of your Zoom screen, click on that, add your questions, and we'll get through as many as we possibly can. So Andrew Lowy, to begin with, how do you add your own furniture? And so it's that upload function that I discussed before. It might actually be useful if I bring up an engine and I can share it as we go. So give me a quick second, but you need the asset on your computer firstly. And so if you've got an asset online, download it. We will provide different conversion engines from FBX and OBJs. There's a number of them out there on the internet. So you'll convert that to a GLB and then upload it into the system in itself. I'm going to quickly share my screen again, just so I can show you that process really quickly through the engine. So that's coming through. So we're in the virtual tour section and the virtual staging beta. For any of you that are wondering, and it's come through a lot actually, this is the new look captured property page. If you don't have this view, simply click on your name and it would say switch to new version. I don't know the exact wording, but this says legacy page. You need to be on the new version to get the virtual staging beta, and it will be available to everyone on the 9th of March. So once you click on that, jumping into your virtual staging, opening up that engine. So going back to Andrew's question, how do you add an asset? So you can see here, these are the supplied assets. They're all here and all the different categories that you can click on that will narrow it down to help you choose them for. Custom assets, it's going to load in. Simply upload an asset. So a file here in this instance, I've got one prepared earlier from earlier. You can then name the asset. Test 2. You can place an image on it, otherwise we'll give you a nice little thumbnail, and then it automatically loads into the scene in itself. So if I jump into this space here, I have used an elephant, but obviously this can be a couch or anything else that you would like. You get that green box, you place it down, and just like that, you've got your asset within the environment moving in the scene. It's worth mentioning as well, the team are working on it, but what you're seeing in the engine, the assets are slightly compressed compared to what the end user sees as well. The reason being is optimization for your ability to quickly stage a property. We are working on making it a lot closer and closing that gap. But if you were to save and publish and then open this up in the forward-facing link, you'll see the lighting and the textures come up a lot more vibrant as well. Grant Kennedy, are you providing the service for your editors to put furniture in for us? So this has come up a couple times. So post-production for virtual staging, it is something that we're looking into. We're trying to figure out how we can best do this. I think as well, something that's going to help in between this is providing quick drop scenes. So you can drop an entire lounge room scene or an entire bedroom scene within a space. But then, yes, there is that additional part for providing the service to stage it. There will be costs obviously involved in it. It's not something we're offering right now, but it is something that we're looking into. If that is something that a lot of you are interested in, please let us know via the feedback form, because then we can prioritize that and bring that service up higher as well. Looking for some good technical ones for Anton. All right, Michael Petros. Does anyone know any good sources for GLB assets?
Yes, I'll take this one. I guess, so the good thing is that any file type that you have of like 3D assets, could be FBX, could be OBJ, can be converted to GLB very easily. Just building up on what Steve has said around like that format, it's essentially a format that is optimized for the web, for fast rendering. And it's also something that is quite special that a lot of other file types don't have, is can include the animations information. So if you want to be able to upload animations as like along with the assets, it's often the best way to do so. So again, to answer your question in terms of sources, Sketchfab, CG Trader, they have large libraries which we're looking at integrating soon enough so it'll be as part of the editor experience that you'll be able to, like, I guess, search on their libraries just to expand the asset list. But beyond that, you'd be able to convert any. So we'll, as part of we'll add some support pages around like places where you can easily convert, I guess, your file types. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward process.
Awesome. There's some really good questions coming in here as well, so please feel free to keep them coming. The next one here is around hosting. So how does your staging attach to Matterport, and how long is the hosting? Is the link the same? Anton, do you want to take that one as well?
Yeah. So our state, like the virtual staging engine it's built on Captured, so it sits on top of Matterport. The Matterport link won't have the assets information. We do the work of essentially like storing the assets and their positions in space, as well as the lighting and all the shadows work. So you would not have to use a Captured link to be able to enjoy the experience. So yeah, like, well, I think there was a couple of questions in that question.
No, that's the most part. The other one's around hosting. So if anyone, for those of you who aren't familiar with Captured, we are purchase once, have forever sort of platform, and we want to be able to provide that service across everything that we do for the most part. And so whilst we don't have pricing publicly available right now, and there is a question here that I'll get to in a second about pricing more accurately, it is hosted for the lifetime that you've got your Matterport tour hosted. And so those assets are stored within our database and then linked through the engine and identified through the XYZ coordinates and then stored there for the lifetime that you've got your Matterport tour available. This does go into the next question quite well. Mark Shepard, thanks for sending this through. Free during beta, but do you have indicative costs for the future? We are working on this. I can't confirm what it will be exactly to the dollar. I mentioned in the webinar that the competitors at the moment are hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. That's not where we want to be positioned. We want to be positioning a once off fee for less than 100, but ideally closer to 50. That's US dollars. We're aiming for that mark there, but then also providing an additional service for people that might just want to place one asset within that engine. It doesn't make sense that you need to be charged for that whole amount. And so the example there is you might want to cover up a $10 million painting on the wall by placing an asset there. It doesn't really make sense to be charged for the full amount. And so we're working through different pricing schemes, and again, speaking to our beta users and all of our community around what they, how they want to use it, and that's going to help dictate the price to us. But the goal for us is to make this as user-friendly, and part of that is making it cost-effective for all of you to be able to sell onto your customers and generate the revenue on your end. The next one coming up here, a couple of these can get rolled in together. So Mina and Dean, Sholly and Marlene as well. Can I import my finished Matterport tour into the virtual staging platform and create the virtual staging? I'm guessing this would have happened when I was showing the example of the assets being placed. Yes, so you'll get your Matterport URL processed from Matterport still, and then you copy that URL into Captured. We provide the overlays at this point, but from that, the Creator Studio where you get your virtual staging can be entered. You can play with virtual staging, absolutely. Play around with that in the scene before you publish anything, but that all is coming from that Matterport URL coming out of that site as well. There's a question here from Kajuran. What are the prospects for, let's say, a furniture shop client over the course of property development? So I think this is kind of around being able to identify the furniture within the scene, and correct me if I'm wrong, I can see that you're asking there, be able to click on the furniture and potentially connecting that to the furniture company who have developed it as more of a promotional piece. Good example is IKEA and a few others like that. So being a little bit more dynamic, I guess. It is something that we're working on. We've actually partnered with an interior design and furniture company here in Melbourne. Bros are looking at a few of these options, cross-promoting assets, be it small boutique agencies or the IKEAs of the world, encourages them to place those assets in this engine because they get link backs to their websites to purchase it. If I've answered that question incorrectly, please let me know and I'll give it another crack, but I believe that's where that was going in that side there. Where are we with questions? A few more coming in here.
Yeah. I'm seeing a few as well. I'm just jumping on this one. Can we remove items? Yes. Like something as well that I'd like to put forward is that we'll be looking at different versions of your virtual staging. So like for a single property, you'd be able to have like different, yeah, I guess essentially like different version, different staging of it. But yeah, you can remove the items and reset them. Yeah, fairly easily already.
So just as the example there, we've got this asset that we've placed in here. I can easily just click on this delete button and away it goes. If we were to do this with multiple assets, and I'll do this really quickly. I'm not an interior designer, so please don't judge my placements of furniture. So as you can see here, we've now got 3 assets within this scene, horribly placed, might I add, and you can see that from the dollhouse view as well, obviously. You can also move these assets as well if you wanted to within that line. I'm not sure if we showed that in any of the videos. But once they're here, you can see on the top right corner, all of our assets are within this space. And so I can individually delete one of the assets, or if I want to start from scratch, I can clear all at the same time. And that functionality is readily available right now. A couple more questions coming in. There was one here that I wanted to answer. Marlene Hernandez around white label for MSPs. Great question. Glad you asked. Currently available. So our team have been working really hard on this. And so for white labeling, this is around DNS rerouting. So rather than seeing, you can see up here, CAPTUR3D.io as the URL, it would be your company name or whatever your domain name is /properties and tours. So this sits on your domain, your clients see it as your domain. We're doing all the hard back-end work on our side, but forward-facing, it comes towards you. This also really assists with SEO. We won't go into this too much, but if you're familiar with this space, the more links that you've got out there linking back to your website means you're going to rank higher on Google searches. So when someone's searching Matterport tour in location that you exist, if you have your tours on your own domain, you're going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of links coming back to your own website, which Google will then rank you higher. So this is currently available on request. So anyone that has a Captured account, you can hit up our support team and request access to this feature. We will be making this more readily available. So it's not just on request, but you'll be able to do it for yourself automatically in the background, in the settings of Captured. And then it'll take a few days for us to do a few things and link things up. And then you'll have access to this piece as well.
There's one question I've seen a few has been raised about clients using virtual staging. I think this one is pretty interesting. Like Captured as a client portal built in, something that we've built already in the past to essentially allow your clients to be able to have a login, like an authenticated version of Captured, where they see I guess like selected things that you would be able to see. They have like certain permissions that like you, I guess, yeah, they don't have all the permissions that you would have, but also the experience is also branded. So we remove our branding, and then you can choose your colors. I guess the use of virtual staging is something we can look into. I think it's an interesting feature we can build upon. So yeah, we'd love that to see that in the roadmap.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I actually provided a customer in our client portal the other day, and they're like, "Oh, can I jump in and do it?" And I was like, "This is actually a great concept, something that we hadn't previously thought about too much, but it makes complete sense. Giving your end customer access to do the virtual staging themselves is another really good one as well." Simon Wither, does this integrate into MP Embed? This has come up actually a couple of times. So Captured integrates with MP Embed in the fact that you can upload your MP Embed URLs into Captured instead of the Matterport ones to make use out of the fantastic features that they've got on their side as well. I haven't tested this. Anton, do you know if it would work?
Sorry. So you saying in the I guess if using an MP, no, that's the thing. Like when we overlay an MP, like we use an MP embed tool, we redirect directly to MP embeds. Our tool doesn't sit under it. There's potential for like we can see with MP embed what we can do in terms of like further integration with our virtual staging engine sitting behind it. Mm-hmm. But for now, like the overlay will kick on, and what would be underlying the overlay would be like the direct Matterport tool. So it's an interesting one and potentially more to come. But yeah, as of now, you won't be able to see your staging properly by using an MP embed link.
Yeah, cool. But it's a really good question. It has come up a few times, so it will be something that we'll add to our question pieces here as well. There's one here, another one here for you, Anton, that I think maybe shed some light on without giving too much away, hopefully. There is a pun in that sentence as well. From Todd Garner, will lighting assets have an option to appear? So individual assets and things like that. I did mention it briefly in the webinar, but maybe do you want to give a bit of an update, again, without giving too much away around what we're developing in the background?
Yeah, sure. Look, definitely, I think the lighting, as well as yeah, a lot of like facet of the assets and the shadows is something that we want to have much more control, or give much more control upon, whether it's from the assets you would be uploading to the one we provide. We want to have much more like a granular like way to edit it. So we already provide like a sort of like a global lighting that can be edited, something that we look into that we'll go into much detail after, is being able to use essentially like the lighting information of the space to be reproduced within the assets. So what we're looking at is like photorealistic assets. I think something that I want to raise is that this is again a beta release. This is our focus was on providing functionalities for essentially you to be able to understand the use cases and get some value out of it, but the assets quality as well as the user experience is going to skyrocket over the next month as we're getting more information about what you need and also how we can do this work best. So yeah, there'll be a lot more improvement around the assets quality and granularity in how they look. Just to, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. There's some really interesting questions in here. So please keep them coming as well. Myself and Anton love the fact that we're able to talk about what we're passionate about and the fact that people are sticking around. So we really appreciate it. Keep them coming. The harder, the better. We haven't stumped Anton yet, but there's still time, people. There's a really good question here from Justice Smith. And I'm glad it was asked because very last minute I got a video to actually show this, but he's asked, will the stage tours be viewable in virtual reality within the Oculus Quest headset? I'm really glad you asked because I did actually prepare something for this in case the question did come up. The answer is yes, and we've got a couple of examples to show you here for this piece. So currently, as it is right now, and Anton, maybe you can provide a bit more information if I'm lying here, but if you stage this property, you will be able to view it in an Oculus headset. I might start with this one quickly. And so again, this is an art gallery that we worked with. So this is currently being viewed in VR through the Oculus headset and just screen grab through it. You can see the animated asset on the board here right in front of you and being able to view this. And so this is just being screen grabbed directly out of the Matterport tour itself, being viewed in the Oculus headset. Might just scrub through this a little bit. Again, so that's an animated rug that we've placed on the floor there. But this, and here over here is this is actually part of the scene that we won the award for that I was speaking about earlier, Mount Resilience, a web AR experience developed by ABC and CSIRO. That's been placed within this physical environment and now viewable within VR. So it's a little bit meta to a certain extent. You're looking at an AR experience in a VR experience and a virtually staged experience. If you didn't think we're an immersive technology company before seeing that video, surely you must know it now. The other one here that we've got as well, I'll let this play through. So this is actually the view from the browser view. So anyone that's used Matterport within the browser in Oculus, this is the view that you would see before you click the Enter VR button, which you can see on that screen there. And so just showing that it's all there. This is the exact same scene that I was just showing you. You can see the animated experience in that back right corner. You can see the rug that was placed. You can see the polar bear, sorry, lost track of thought there, all within this scene, working within browser, within VR. Then obviously as you click that button, that was the second video that I was showing there once you're in VR in that situation. So being able to see that 3D asset. So this is a OBJ that's been compressed to a GLB in situ of the environment. Again, an experience within an experience within an experience. But to answer your question very long-windedly, yes, it does work in VR. And yes, there are a number of different applications in which this can be used, but I'm really excited I got to show those videos. So thank you very much for the question.
I'll just add up to this that obviously like in the team and even like the company at Foya level, like we all like huge fan of, I guess, sci-fi and wanting to push the boundaries of XR, and I guess something that we like we spending time into already and want to develop further is to be able to edit in VR. And the ability to essentially place your asset in virtual reality is something that we really look forward to.
Awesome. There's a couple questions here that I'm going to knock out really quick because there's a few that I can answer very quickly. But there's one here I want to come back to see if you can answer this, Andrew, because I reckon it might be able to stump you. There was a couple down here. Where are we? Will getting our own domain just be for virtual staging or work with one-page websites? No. So if you do the DNS rerouting, it's everything on our platform, any forward-facing URL. So the virtual tour, the standard link, the one-page website links, the client portal, Anton?
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
But down the line, yes, absolutely.
So all the forward-facing links will be available in that space in itself. There was another quick one that I could have just played through. Dean Shawley, do I have to duplicate the model in Matterport to have multiple virtually staged scenes in Captured? No. So the Captured filter is actually being placed on top of the Matterport tour. And so you can upload the same Matterport tour without duplicating it 100 times in Captured and stage it differently in each one of them, because it is a unique URL that we've got that staging on. It doesn't make a difference. So you only need to use that space once. And so going back to that events example, you don't need to duplicate the wedding hall 15 times in Matterport. You can just upload it into Captured 15 times and redo that staging how you see fit. It also goes back to that point I was making before. We're going to make that process a lot easier as well by being able to do it within the same engine on the same URL. But these things are all going to come in the future once we get a little bit more demand for it into the near future. The question that I'm coming back to, Anton, where is it now? I've lost it. There's too many here. Can we place an asset outside the windows, i.e. a cityscape or countryscape?
Yeah, so that's a bit of a more difficult one. I guess the windows are panoramic photos around you, so they're not usually necessarily reflective of what's outside. I mean, they are as like a photo, like a static, from a static point of view. Interestingly, there's things we could do there. Obviously, like in the dollhouse, you'd be able to see what's outside, but be able to visualize it from something that we look into. And that's kind of answering one question from Fiona as well about, can we mirror surface over existing mirrors to disguise the camera reflection? There's a lot we can do around essentially adding reflective materials on top of existing textures and walls. So I'd be interested to see what we can do in that space. That would be this is something that would be quite special. But it's definitely, a lot of this is already possible. Like the mirror example is absolutely possible. Yeah.
And that's a really good point. I mentioned it briefly before, but that's one of those examples where you might want to use the virtual staging just for that single thing. So you've got a beautiful shot of the bathroom, but you've got the camera in the mirror. Being able to quickly jump in, put a reflective surface on that mirror. And so when you're looking at it, you're seeing exactly reflecting back on the 3D model what you're seeing. So you see the shower or the bathroom, things like that. It's those sort of use cases that we want to make it really accessible and effective rather than being able to have that full gambit of things as well from the cost point of view. There's one here about the API that I'm curious about, again, from Chris Sheep. Is this accessible via an API for those that already have MP embed keys to enable our clients to use our use our own existing portals and not Captured's? So before I jump to you, Anton, I'm going to go back because you did answer this question in part before. The engine is Captured's. And so to make use of this engine, you need to use Captured. It's not something that Matterport's developed. It's something that our engineers have put together. And so to make use out of it, you do need to be able to be logged in, have a Captured account, use a Captured URL to make use out of it. We don't have access to Matterport. We are using their API and their SDK, but we can't directly put things into that space and let you use it in the Matterport link URL. That's not how their system works. That's not how the API works. And so you will need a Captured account to make use out of this. I realize that we've ticked over 11 o'clock, and I appreciate that there may be people out there that have things to do depending on where you are in the world, having dinner with your family, get jobs to go to. We're going to continue to answer a few questions. And just a reminder that this will be available after the fact. We've been recording it. For anyone that may have missed it, or if you want to share it with a colleague, feel free. We're going to be putting this link in the Captured community group on Facebook. So please join that group, and we'll also send out an EDM with some information about that as well. Again, if you do need to sign off, we do appreciate you being with us for this amazing launch. We've built this feature from the ground up for the basis of creating value for all of you, like we do with all of our features. We can't wait to hear your feedback and continue to build upon it and hear some great success stories. If there are some success stories already out there, that's what we live for. We kind of sit here behind our computers working this every day, but to see that it's being used out in the wild and making value is the most important thing to us. And so please let us know. And thank you for joining us. We're going to continue answering some questions. Please feel free to continue asking questions. But if you do need to head off, again, this will be made available afterwards as well. So thank you again. And we're going to dive into a few more questions. So we did the Windowscape, we did the API. This has actually come up a lot, and thank you for asking it, Andrew. It's something that we considered in the MVP, but we decided that we would focus on it afterwards. Anton, I'll throw this one to you. When adding chairs, can we add a row of chairs rather than an individual and have them line up exactly? And so hypothetically, click once and then go, or maybe do copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting one actually. We're looking at, again, upcoming features around copying the same assets that reproduce the same position, like data, just to be able to place it in a faster manner than having to go through the asset library again. Something that's again, because of the beta, and we need to choose essentially the functionality that we provide in the first place. Batch upload of assets is something we can very definitely look into. We knew from the get-go that again, like this virtual staging can be tedious, and what we want to achieve is wanting to make the experience as easy and fun as possible. I think someone in the chat said like the Sims 5 that hasn't looked any better. I think it's a lovely thing to read, because yeah, this is what we're looking for. Like, Sims is fun to use, and I guess we want to make the experience the same, and obviously as fast and to be cost effective. So going back to the question, at the moment, there's not a way to line up chairs and sit them together. I can think already of ways we can do that. And we also provide sets of assets. So things that we can do already is that, like, providing a bundle of some of these chairs, forming an asset that can be placed. And so you can already see some of that, like you'd have like a dinner table with like 6 chairs around it, for example. Yeah. Awesome.
There's a good question here, and something that my business partner has been quite interested in for a number of different years, from David Shannon. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Apologies if I'm not. I'm working on creating full-size animated agents presenting in the tour. Have you been working on anything like that? If not, can we collaborate? Absolutely. Hit us up and give us a call. So what you're kind of after there is volumetric video capture. The first instances of this was produced or showcased by Intel a number of years ago at one of their showcases. And for those of you who don't know about volumetric video, it is a video feed, but from outside in. So 360 is inside out. This is outside in, apologies. And so you can see all around the person that's being videoed. The thing is, for a few frames of information, it's gigs, if not terabytes worth of data, because you've got all these different cameras and angles and things like that collected. But progress has been made, as with everything in technology, that compression of being able to do volumetric video. And there's a number of different ways to do it actually now with the iPhone 12, which is actually quite interesting. But being able to create that asset, turning it into an animated GLB. But the final part there, which is super interesting to us, and another feature that is soon to come, adding audio to that asset as well. And so you can have a guided volumetric agent or whatever it may be within that scene in itself. If it is something that you're interested in, David, hit us up. It's something that we're interested in. We love this space and would be happy to collaborate with you on something there as well. The questions are continuing to fire through. There was a few here that I wanted to just quickly answer because they're quick. So Marlene, what will happen with our beta models after beta? Will it disappear? Absolutely not. So the beta models are going to be available from now until forever. you won't be charged for any of the beta models in the future, even if pricing does come in. This period here is for you to make use out of the tour and start creating value for you and your clients. And so you can be rest assured that the experience that you're creating now will be made available continuously moving forward, because at the moment, we're testing, we're helping, we're getting there. If there are little hiccups and things along the way, we do apologize, but it is in beta and we're just doing it to improve our system. But obviously we hope not, because we've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations before that. But you can be rest assured, if you create anything for a client and you sell that to a client, currently it is going to be available and we're not going to charge it for you at any point in the future as well. So jump in, make as many as you want. I do put a caveat on that. We're not charging for the virtual tour, but there is a small charge if you're outside of the outside of your trial period on Captured for the virtual tour overlay, because that comes with analytics, the reporting, the branding and everything else incorporated with that, the one-page website and all the other features that are fantastic available. And so there is that cost, but there's no cost for the virtual staging. Uploading assets, we've been through that a few times. Who owns the assets? Oh, okay, I see the question. Does it become available to other people in the platform? No. So if you upload an asset to your account, it's only your account that has access to that. So that provider account on Captured will have access to that asset in itself. So the really interesting one about owning the asset, though, I thought we were coming from the other angle of who owns the actual 3D asset. We've been talking a lot about the crypto art recently, and there's a field there for that. But yeah, if you upload an asset into the engine, that is only your asset. No one else will have access to it, not even us. We're just storing it in our database.
There's ways by uploading the assets as well. Something, again, we know this is a big feature. A lot of people come with like sets of assets, so we added ways for you to categorize them, retrieve them faster, search them, and also like I guess mark them as favorites as well if you want to retrieve them faster. Is something that is planned, but like a lot of the categorizing and searching is already in there.
This is a good question, Anton. I'm not sure how this works. So we're working on a favorites library at the moment, so you can save your best or favorite assets to a space in itself. It's not currently available, but we are working on it. This is from Bruce Wells. Thanks for joining us, Bruce. If you modify an object, for example, change the size ratio, is it possible to save that back to the library in that ratio?
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Not currently. This is something, again, like I guess it's because what we expect when you upload the asset, it's already to scale, like it's already to scale, and then like you don't necessarily change for example, like the positioning and the rotation of it. The positioning especially might not necessarily make sense when being translated from other properties, but definitely the rotation and the scale. So this is something we can look into. If we hear a lot of requests from that, this is definitely something possible on our ends. Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting use case.
I can see, and I'm putting my real estate agent hat and real estate industry hat on in this space here. I've been working within this field for quite a long time, but I could see potentially the request coming in, and potentially this is where Bruce is coming from, where you place the furniture in a room, a king size bed, but you make it look a little bit smaller, so the room looks a little bit bigger potentially. And so whilst everything is well scaled, people might want to be able to use the virtual staging to make spaces look a bit bigger than they actually might be potentially. There is a good bunch of questions here from Dustin Gardner. Thanks again joining us, Dustin, from Reality Capture Experts. You've got a few questions here, and I'm going to try and get through a few of them because they look quite interesting. Is there a way to password protect the property tours individually so that I may share with my clients that I've staged? Yes, there is the Matterport password protection, but Captured also provides a password protect feature for username and password. And you can create or update this as much as you need. And so that all sits behind a two-factor authentication security system that we've built, and also locks in the one-page website as well. So if you've got the tour on the one-page website, it's password protect. Everything becomes password protected. Very useful for particular properties, engineering spaces, and a whole bunch of different reasons there. The other one here is there a trick for inserting assets into smaller spaces? I had trouble using the scaling tool. For example, I placed a laundry basket into a closet and it seemed fine from one angle, but then when I checked another angle, it appeared to be floating in space. Then I unlocked the position tool, pulled it down and relocked until it was okay. The same thing happens when placing the chairs next to dining tables. Anton, I might pass this to you and just simplify the question a little bit. Scaling assets and using it, obviously, it will be dependent on the Matterport model because the asset's been placed on the 3D model of the dollhouse in the position in itself. And so, as I'm sure we've all had the difficulty in the past, the Matterport model might be skewed or have a artifact within it. And so you might be picking that up. But how would you go about this, Anton? I might quickly share my screen to show a few of those pieces as we go.
I think so. You touched on one important point, being the mesh, the underlying mesh. Sometimes can create some issue with placing. It's quite rare. I think you know from like Matterport model that they're usually very good quality compared to the competition and the underlying mesh. But there's a chance sometimes that yeah, the placement can be screwed. There's one other thing that is important to mention, especially working with small spaces that are a bit intricate to work with, is the placement modes. And I would suggest to make use of the dollhouse only because what happened when you're in a panorama mode is that you have the perspective of the camera. And that can be quite deceiving when you place something in front of you and then you move on different sweeps. And sometimes you realize that the depth is not necessarily like from a different angle, it might not look as the placement might not be as correct as you wanted it to be. This in the dollhouse mode really happens. So like again, working with intricate spaces, the dollhouse mode becomes much more like fluid and important and sort of like provide more correctness. But I think the panorama view is also great, especially in placement, just to get the real feel of what that asset is going to look like. So yeah, again, I would suggest to work with the dollhouse on intricate and small spaces.
So as you're talking there, Anton, I was placing this fridge into a small cavity just to show a few things. And there's a couple items there that you're discussing. Obviously, in the dollhouse view, it becomes a lot easier. A few things to go through here as well. So clicking on the asset, it brings up all of these options. At the moment, I can move it left and right and forward and back quite easily. Like I mentioned in the presentation, we've locked the y-axis and so that it is on the floor. If you do ever want to change anything, just clicking or unclicking that lock button, so I can bring it down a little bit further if I want to snap it to that ground and then be able to move it back a little bit as well. Then locking it once again. Same thing with the rotation. You may have seen me playing with this. You can just click on this and move the piece with you. I like numbers, don't hold it against me. And so if you remember all of your, I don't like numbers enough to remember what they're called, but all your angles and degrees. So 45, 90, 180, 270, 360, we'll rotate this piece around as you go. So 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 45 degrees, and so forth and so on. So I'm gonna bring that back. I believe it was 90 degrees at the front. Maybe it was 180 degrees. Right the first time. There we go. And then same thing with the scale. And so what Dustin was talking about there before, making it smaller or bigger, as you can see within the space, making sure that it fits within that area as well. Again, you can turn off the scale. This is where things get weird because you can make it look fatter or thinner, depending on what you're scaling up. As you can see, it doesn't quite work. We do recommend keeping this one locked, but there are cases that you do need to unlock the scale there for itself.
We wanted to leave flexibility. We've sort of like added some sensible defaults around locking just to like, you don't essentially like accidentally just like scale an asset much more than it's supposed to be and having to restart or like redo your action. But if you need that flexibility, it's there.
Absolutely. So Dustin, a couple more here. Will you be adding furniture, expanding the library consistently? So we have an interior design team working on compressing, optimizing, and creating assets that are going to be feeding through. Initial focus for MVP. So the product that we're putting out for beta, for any of you who are unaware of MVP, is real estate and residential real estate, closely followed by commercial, which follows on to your next question. Do you have any, will you be adding furniture for commercial purposes? There are a few at the moment. I saw them in there. I don't know if we've actually updated the system with the new furniture sets just yet, but there are a number of commercial assets within this space currently that allow you to kind of move. So like a meeting setup and meeting chairs. as you can see here, the office side of things, but that is going to be our next key focus for building out the office furniture, along with different sets of styles within furniture as well. So some amazing questions there. And then the last one there, we've already answered around, can you allow our customers to stage? It seems to be coming up a lot. And so we're going to build that into the client portal, giving them access to that space, I think is important, but also giving you permissions to do so. So not necessarily always, but you can give them specific permissions if required in itself. Questions are coming in thick and fast. Anton, we've got a few here. Can we create stage environments with other digital twins? That's interesting. This is a good one for you. Can we create stage tours environments with other digital twin sources like LiDAR or Sketchfab? So I think the question is instead of Matterport.
Yeah, so at the moment it's built on top of Matterport tools, but it's a very interesting one and something that is we're already looking into, especially when you think about now, like for the use of like the iPhone 12 and LiDAR, being able to scan a space and produce a digital twin from it. So Captured wants to be, this is where we're heading towards, essentially being a platform for digital twin experience, building experiences on top of digital twin and visualization. And so yeah, this is definitely something that we're interested in and will develop further. Absolutely.
Awesome. A number of these questions we're getting through, which is good, and I can see a couple more. Are the asset place scale and space? We've got that.
You will keep all Matterport icons and functions like measurement tools. Yes, absolutely. And I'll also answer a second question about the measurement tool working with assets. And yes, it does. It will bring also like the measurements of them.
That's a really good point. And maybe it's something that we can show really quickly, but you can place a 3D asset in the model, and then you can place a matter tag on that asset because it identifies it as part of it, which answers the question I was just looking at here down the bottom from, where was it? Ronaldo and Dean, very similar. Will you be able to add matter tags, or can you do this in Captured? And will the icons and functions like measurement tools be available? So yes on both, but as a bit of a sneak peek, we're actually creating our own custom tag engine as well in Captured for changing icons and the different sizes and languages and colors and everything within Matterport. And so in the very near future, it's happening in the next sprint. Obviously testing is required and a whole bunch of other things before we put it into public, but very soon you'll be able to add tags within Captured itself. And so you can place that asset and then put a tag straight on top of it and edit that tag without having to leave the engine. It's all about efficiency for you guys, for all of you, for all of your team members to be able to create these things. And so that's coming in the very near future. At the moment, you will need to use Matterport to place those matter tags, but we appreciate the need and the pipeline for that. And we are working on it side by side with continuously updating the virtual staging engine as well. There was one here as well that I thought was interesting. I want to create something and sell it to View and Oculus. Do you support a paywall? We've been asked this a number of times. It's not a feature that we currently provide in Captured. There are some other third parties out there that do provide this service by putting it behind a paywall, but you can also do it quite easily yourself by creating a specific domain with a password and username created by a paywall through Stripe. Stripe provides some really easy integrations for this that you can put there, and then you can put it behind as well. To make sure that no one can access it or people that haven't paid for it. This one's for you, Anton, definitely. I could probably give it a crack, but I wouldn't be able to answer it. How do you host your user-uploaded custom assets in your internal servers, a third-party open source content delivery network like Git CDN or AS Deliver?
So like essentially they store into our own infrastructures, which is all on AWS. And essentially, we also sit a CDN in front of it just for caching across. So what we want to do is provide essentially like the same download experience, whether you're in the US or anywhere in the world. So like we add a CDN layer on top of it just for caching purposes. And we also, like Steve touched on it a little earlier, but we also like compress and optimize the assets before we send them. So that's it.
Awesome. Two quick ones here. Andrew Lowy asking is REA listing. So for anyone in Australia, realestate.com is one of our bigger property portals. Competitor is Domain. Globally, you have the US Redfins and Zillow and the like, but ours are realestate.com and Domain. Asking, will these websites, well, in particular REA, does not launch from the virtual tour button if the link is not Matterport domain. Therefore, the link will need to be provided with the virtual tour. We've had a partnership with REA for about 6 years now. So captured URLs are white labeled into REA and Domain. So we've got development partnerships with both, and have actually helped create the UX of both of their experiences of how to host, display, and use virtual tours within their website, not so much the app. So besides Matterport URLs, captured URLs do work in realestate.com and Domain, and so it will work consistently throughout. I saw one up here as well before for a more US centric, pretty much the same question, realtor.com. So Matterport do provide direct integration with realtor.com. It's something that we're going to be building out probably later in this year, is direct connectivity APIs. And so for your bigger platforms, realtor.com, your Zillows, although everyone knows the difficulties with Zillow and Matterport at the moment, we will be building this out so it's one touch and you can just push it out into that system in itself. We understand the importance and the simplicity of that. It'll be part of our delivery email process where you can select which portals you want to send it to, and it will come through MLS for the US purposes. So what's your ID MLS, and be able to send that through it itself. There is a big pool of work that we want to work on to make that most efficient as possible. But for now, the URLs do work on REA, answering that question there in itself. There's one down here I actually really liked as well. We were discussing this the other day about how we can solve for this. Skeeter, thanks for joining us. Long-time captured customer. Good to see you from Hawaii. How would you take pictures with the assets in the model, Anton?
Well, we can very easily integrate like a photo, like a screenshot, like on virtual staging. This is something that we're already able to do on virtual tours, but virtual staging will also, like, I guess, like reflect that. So that's a very interesting feature, to be honest. And yeah, this is very much realizable at the moment. For most of our, essentially, we've been playing with this tool ourselves and let our client like send back photos of us. They've just been using like the screenshot tool, but there's something more integrated that would provide, I guess, like the proper like sizing for like photos that we can implement fairly easily. So yeah, that's a good one.
It is a great one. So a lot of the videos and photos that were in the presentation were through tools that the team are using in the back end. We will polish these up and make these forward facing in the near future as well. It's actually a really good request. And so, for instance, in the near future, you could request our post-production team or for yourself, rather than going through and taking those images in the Matterport workshop, you'll do them in the captured engine. And so you can click on the photo, which will be done through the Matterport SDK. We'll be able to take that photo and store that as a high-res image that you can then use online to show that piece. But that's a really good question, Skater. And thank you for bringing that up, because we will be looking to solve that in the very near future as well. There's a business question here that I would like to provide an answer to. Apologies if I get this wrong. Tanuj Saluja, apologies if I've pronounced that incorrectly. For someone who is just starting out in the 3D tour space, what's the fastest way to leapfrog into the digital staging niche? It is a really interesting time, I guess, for everyone within this space. Matterport has been around for a long time, and you will find the occasional person that hasn't seen Matterport or heard of it. But for the most part, some sort of virtual tour people are aware of if you ask them these days. What they're not aware of is virtual staging. And so what we find with a lot of areas that we work on is educating the market and helping people understand the different use cases. Everyone goes for different industries, and people can go for all industries. But what I would suggest is look at where you want to be operating. Real estate is high volume, usually low value. And then you have larger one-off event spaces and galleries and things which are low volume, but very high value and extensional value as well. And so just weighing those options up for your business and where you want to focus, in particular within the virtual staging, real estate has appetite for this. That's why we're focused on that to begin with. People are currently spending sometimes $5,000, $10,000 to physically stage a property. I'm not saying that we're replacing that right now, but we will be able to get to that realistic point in the very near future, especially with AR Connect and mixed reality integration very costlessly. But be able to do that online, and especially now with the COVID world and people probably not getting to as many open inspections, there's an ability for you to provide this service for less than $100 for someone that may have spent 5 to 10 grand. And so there's that awesome opportunity within that property market in itself. I think conversely to that, galleries, museums, and exhibitions would be a focus that I would be looking at. I'm seeing a lot of interest in this space at the moment, being able to help stage an event, be able to help set up a gallery exhibition, depending on where art pieces are going to be placed as well. They would be some of the focuses that I would be looking at to begin with as well. Last couple, we're about to tick over to 11:30, so we might close it in. If there's any last questions, please add them in. If we have missed anything, please send us an email or get in contact with our support team and we'll be able to get back to you. I feel like we have done a very good job at answering the vast majority of these.
Yeah.
If we have missed it, I do apologize.
There will be a something again that will obviously, like a lot of the feedback request, like the feature requests, as well as the feedback, we take that very seriously, and they integrate the product roadmap immediately. We request the counts, and we sort of like, you have a huge impact on like the features that is going to be built. There's a feedback button that's going to be on the editor at all time if you want to provide feedback about the experience or think like an ID that could come up that would be interesting to your business. So that would also be available if you have any more question while you're in the tool. There's
Awesome.
one around covering assets and painting walls. There's a few actually. So yeah, would be as again, I won't repeat too much on this. Chief, as mentioned, a feature of us essentially being able to cover like painting walls. That would work as well on, I guess, furnitures and existing assets. We'd be potentially looking at extracting the color of what is around, almost like the paint tool, to be able to take the color of like a specific texture and reapplying it everywhere. The second thing I'm thinking of as well, which can already be done, is furnitures can be covered by other furnitures from our assets, like tooling. So that's a way to go by it. We had to do it already on existing properties.
It's a really good point. Let's say, and it's not in this instance, but this oven, let's say this oven was old and didn't look very nice. You could come in and place a new oven in front of it and scale it up. The oven's probably a bad example. Let me try the sink, because I did the sink the other day and it worked really well. So where is my sink? Not in the current bundle. Oh, good. But you can place it right on top of the asset and it will cover it as well. As you can see, there's just a handful of the assets we've got available. On the 9th, when it does go into public beta, we're going to have a lot more assets within this library and continue to update it as well. One last couple here that I saw that I just wanted to quickly get to. Can the stage property be embedded on a client's website, or does it have to be in Captured's single page property website? Yeah, absolutely it can. Our goal is to provide as much flexibility as possible for you to operate as you need. So there's no point us making it only closed within our networks. It doesn't value anyone. So on the property page in Captured, you can copy the URL that you can provide to the customer that they can embed, or we actually also provide the embed code that you can easily just click and copy in one instance and email that through. That also gets emailed as part of the delivery email as well. And so they can easily place that on any website that they see fit. We're going to leave it there. There are a number of questions here around languages and UI. Yes, we're doing a lot of updates within languages that are going to come soon and creating custom libraries. But I would just like to thank you all for joining us on this amazing experience. We are super excited to get this live, and we are super excited to get your feedback as well. That's the most important thing. You may have noticed we are very passionate about this by answering all of these questions. We could sit here all day, but we know all of us have more things we need to get to. But we will continue to answer questions as they come through. Feel free to email us. Feel free to provide us with your feedback. It seems like there's a lot of the similar feedback coming through, which helps us then prioritize what features we should be building next. I want to thank the amazing engineers, developers, creatives, account managers, and salespeople here at Capture that have made this possible, the ones that you're communicating with, the ones that are working tirelessly behind the scenes to make this all possible. They go through trials and tribulations to make this the most amazing experience for you all. And so I really appreciate all their hard work. Also, credit needs to go to Matterport for uploading or updating their bundle SDK and APIs to provide access to third-party providers like us to create tool sets like this. And lastly, I want to thank all of you for being involved getting involved in this makes us so happy. We wouldn't do this, obviously, if there wasn't a group of people like yourselves that are so passionate about this area. There needs to be a way for us to be able to give back to you and provide the value, and that's us providing these features, which we're good at. Again, join the Capture community group on Facebook. It's Capture community group, CCG. Feedback forms are there. The virtual staging is going live into public beta on the 9th of March, Australian time. Again, thank you all very much for joining us today. We've had an amazing time being here. We really appreciate your involvement and getting all these questions. It's just great to see so much passion within this industry. We will continue to evolve and do more of these, and also the product. And thank you to you, Anton, for joining me today and being my accomplice.
Thank you, everybody. This was awesome. Should do it again.
Yeah. Oh, actually, it is happening again. We probably missed a couple of people, but we are pushing this out live afterwards. But we are going to do some, what do we call them? Masterclasses. So we're going to be diving deep. For those of you who have worked with Alex before, our senior account manager, he's going to be running some masterclasses on how to get the most out of the virtual staging, really dive in. It might be close, smaller groups, and people can get you more involved and hands-on. You'll get more information about this in the coming weeks. We haven't set a date yet, but we might do different themes as well. We'll see how we go, but masterclasses will be coming up. So please keep your eye out for that and get involved as well. Again, thank you to all. Thank you, Anton. Thank you, team. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your days, wherever you are in the world. We really appreciate your time and look forward to hearing some success stories in the near future. Thank you.
See you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.